Pack your bags, we're headed on a big old ride, with dreams of sunlit shores and the open skies, from the hills of Cyprus to where the world collides.
All right, buckle up for another deep dive. This time we're heading to South Africa with Rob and Mandy's Kruger National Park blog.
And it's more than just a highlight reel of lions and sunsets. It's those little things they pick up on a sudden storm, a strategically placed lodge that reveal what truly elevates a wildlife experience.
We've got a stack of blog posts to get through, covering everything from flight hiccups to a leopard sighting that'll make you green with envy.
And a flooded bridge. Don't forget about that flooded bridge.
Oh yeah, we'll get to that. So picture this. Rob and Mandy land in Johannesburg, ready for adventure, and bam, a massive electrical storm rolls in.
Talk about dramatic timing.
Straight from Mozambique, they said.
And you know, weather in a place like Kruger, it's not just an inconvenience. It's a major player in the whole ecosystem.
Right, this isn't your average rain delay. So they end up at the Sunrock Guest House, charming little spot.
They had an honesty bar, did you see that?
Oh yeah, I love those.
Speaks to a certain level of trust and community that you don't always find in a big city. It's like a nice foreshadowing of the welcoming atmosphere they'll encounter throughout their trip.
I like that connection.
Yeah.
So, storm clears, the real journey begins. The flight to Kruger. They land at Skukuza Airport, which already sets the tone for the trip. This isn't just any airport.
Inside Kruger National Park, which is amazing for maximizing your safari time. Most parks have you driving in from outside, losing precious hours you could be spending with wildlife.
Totally. They said there weren't even departure boards. When it was time to board, someone just walked out and yelled, "All aboard!"
I love that. It's those little details that make you realize you're on a completely different schedule now.
Right.
No more airport stress.
Nature's clock.
Exactly.
Okay, so they're in Kruger. The anticipation is building. Time for the game drives.
Yeah.
They were lucky enough to have both sunset and early morning drives.
The best times to catch the animals in action, for sure. Light is everything. In those hours, you get the most dramatic contrasts.
Their first game drive was led by a guide named Douglas. From what they said, sounds like a real expert.
That's the thing about a good guide, right? It's more than just knowing the park layout. It's understanding animal behavior, tracking, even how the weather impacts their movements.
And that expertise translates into those incredible sightings. They saw a massive bull elephant on their first drive.
Wow.
Which is amazing in itself. But the real magic happened as the sun started to set.
Dusk in Kruger. Like the curtain's about to rise on a whole new performance.
Tell me about it. Hyenas, kudas, a whole bunch of hippos hanging out in a waterhole. They even saw a crocodile in the river later that night.
No way.
Action-packed start.
Highlights the diversity of Kruger's ecosystem, right? It's not just about the big five. Every encounter, big or small, contributes to that sense of awe.
And speaking of the big five, their next game drive took an exciting turn with a guide named Lucky. And he definitely lived up to his name.
I love these little details that they include. It's like we get to know the people, too.
Right. They stumbled upon fresh lion tracks, and Lucky, being the expert tracker he is, knew exactly what to do. It's moments like this you realize the value of a skilled guide.
It's the difference between just driving around and having someone who can read those subtle signs of the bush. Turns a regular drive into a truly unforgettable encounter.
Unforgettable is an understatement. Lucky led them straight to a magnificent male lion just lounging in the grass.
No way.
Like he owned the place. They were completely awestruck. And honestly, who wouldn't be?
It's those moments of raw encounter that remind us of our place, you know?
It really puts things in perspective.
Yeah.
And the wildlife encounters didn't stop there. Giraffes, more rhinos, even a glimpse of a leopard.
Which, let's be honest, is almost as good as a long sighting. Leaves you wanting more. That sense of mystery.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
They even managed to tick off all of the big five.
Wow.
But there's one more detail about their game drives. I want to touch on the friendliness of the staff. They were blown away by how welcoming and helpful everyone was.
It's that human element, right, that can elevate a good trip to a truly memorable one when you feel genuinely cared for.
Totally. And it's clear that Rob and Mandy felt that warmth throughout their time in Kruger.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what else adds to the magic of a safari? The lodge.
It's not just a place to sleep. It's an extension of the safari experience. And Rob and Mandy's lodge, well, let's just say it wasn't your average hotel room.
Okay, so before we dive into that incredible lodge experience, let's pause here. I'm curious, from what we've covered, the flight hiccup, the guides, those incredible animal sightings. What stands out to you the most?
It's tempting to say the lion, but I think for me, it's how they highlight those small details. The guide's name, Lucky, the honesty bar at the guest house. It's those little things that give it so much character.
Absolutely. It's like those seemingly insignificant moments end up being the ones that stick with you. So we've covered their arrival, the game drives, and the incredible guides they met. But hold on to your hats, because Rob and Mandy's Kruger adventure continues with even more wildlife encounters, some stunning scenery, and of course that lodge experience we promised.
And remember that crazy storm that welcomed them to Johannesburg?
The one that blew in from Mozambique.
Yeah. Seems like the rain decided to follow them to Kruger.
They woke up to a proper downpour on their third day. But did they let a little rain stop them? Nope. True adventurers, these two.
That's the thing about nature, right? Doesn't always care about our itineraries. Sometimes the best moments happen when we just roll with it.
Totally. So they bundled up in their ponchos and headed out with their guide, Bernard. Another gem by the sounds of it.
I'm telling you, the way they describe each guide really shows how much those interactions added to the whole experience.
Oh, absolutely. And even with the rain, they still had some amazing sightings. Rhinos, giraffes, even a hyena sneaking through the wet grass.
Makes you realize, right? The animals have to deal with it too. A good guide understands that, knows where to look.
Like they have a sixth sense or something. But even with all that, they said the highlight of their Kruger experience was elephants, a small herd of them.
There's something about being in the presence of those animals.
Magical, they called it.
It is.
The elephants were so calm, just moving through the bush like they were one with everything.
Good reminder, we're just visitors in their world. Observe, respect, appreciate the connection without messing things up.
They got pretty close, too. The lead elephant, grand old matriarch, came within 10 meters of their jeep.
Wow.
And get this, one of the baby elephants even put on a little show for them.
Oh, the little dance party. Adorable.
I know. Twisting and turning right there in front of them. Talk about a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
Wow.
But the day wasn't over yet. After all that excitement, they got to watch the sunset over the African bush.
Perfect ending to a perfect day. Those quiet moments where you can just take it all in.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Speaking of taking it all in, their lodge experience takes being immersed in nature to a whole other level.
It wasn't just the luxury, though they did love that. It was the location.
Yeah.
Being right by the Sabi River.
Which, if you recall, played a pretty dramatic role in their departure.
Oh, yeah. That flooded bridge.
Not every day you have to navigate a flooded bridge to catch your flight.
Talk about an adventure.
They said the water was practically washing over the bridge in some parts. Had to drive super slowly.
Yikes.
But let's rewind a bit. Talk about the lodge itself. Picture this. You're on your private deck, just meters from the Sabi River, and suddenly...
You've got front row seats to the best wildlife show out there.
Right. Hippos swimming by, a crocodile on the other side. They even said they could hear the hippos calling to each other at night.
See, that's what I love about safari lodges. It's not just about seeing the animals from afar. It's about feeling like you're a part of their world. Even when you're safe and sound in your little lodge.
It's like the wild is right there at your doorstep. Creates this incredible feeling of connection. But before we get too lost in the tranquility, remember how impressed they were with the staff during the game drives?
How friendly and helpful everyone was, yeah.
Well, that same warmth carried over to the lodge staff, too. They raved about how friendly and helpful everyone was, how much they knew.
It's those personal touches that make all the difference. Knowing someone's looking out for you, excited to share their knowledge, elevates the whole experience.
Totally. And speaking of elevating the experience, their final day in Kruger took them back to that unique little airport.
Skukuza, where they announced departures the old-fashioned way.
Exactly. With a final, all aboard, they said goodbye to Kruger and boarded their flight back to Johannesburg. But their South African adventure wasn't over just yet.
They had one last stop, Victoria Falls.
Now, that's what I call a grand finale. But before we jump into that chapter, let's take a minute to appreciate their time in Kruger. Lions, elephants, those peaceful moments by the river. They really embraced every aspect of the experience.
It reminds you, a truly memorable trip isn't just about the destinations. It's the people you meet, those little challenges, the tiny details that stick with you long after you're home.
You know what's really stuck with me about their Kruger experience?
What's that?
It's how they managed to balance those big wow moments, like seeing the lion or those elephants up close, with just enjoying the quieter side of being out in nature.
Yeah, it's like they got that a truly immersive experience is about balancing those adrenaline rushes with the quieter moments of just appreciating what's around you.
Exactly. They didn't just rush from one sighting to the next. They slowed down, took it all in, whether it was watching a sunset or just listening to the sounds of the bush at night.
And that's what makes it stick with you, right? Those little details, those quiet moments, they weave their way into your memories.
Totally. It's like the difference between looking at a postcard and actually being there. Rob and Mandy's blog, it's a good reminder that travel isn't just about ticking boxes and seeing the big sights.
Yeah.
It's about opening yourself up to something new, embracing those little moments, and letting the whole experience change you.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So to anyone listening who's feeling inspired to plan their own adventure.
Yeah, or maybe just dreaming of a little escape.
What's one thing you'd want them to take away from this?
Good question. I'd say don't be afraid to look beyond the highlight reel. Search out those hidden gems, those authentic experiences that give you a real feel for a place.
Because sometimes it's those unexpected moments, those little details that really stay with you.
Absolutely. They spark those real connections and create memories that last a lifetime.
Well said.
And on that note, thanks for joining us for another deep dive. Until next time, happy travels, everyone.
I do like flying where we never hide.
Out on the highway, chasing the